Hello and welcome to Drill and Kill. That's correct, my friend. This is where we drill until we kill all the mistakes. So, without further ado, let's get on to our first problem. Alrighty, and here we go. 1 2/3 plus 2 5/8. So, the first thing I want to do is go ahead and create my first fraction, and that's 1, and then I'm going to make a fraction box for the 2/3. Now, I get 2 out of 3, so I'm going to cut this into 3 parts. 1, 2. Lines gives me 1, 2, 3 parts, and I get 2 out of those 3. So I'm going to color in 2 of those parts right there. Bam! Now, down here I get 2 5/8. So I'm going to go ahead and make 2 holes, and there's 1. Then I'm going to make a second one right here. And then for this one, I've got an empty fraction box, right? Because I got to make 5/8. Now, I'm going to make this bigger because I got to do 5/8. 8 parts means 7 lines, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 lines. Wow, that's tight. Okay, so now I get 5 out of those, so I'm going to color in from the bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I get 5 of those. I'm going to try and center that. Perfect. Okay, perfect. All right, excellent. So now here I have 1 1 2/3, and here I have 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6, 7, and 8. So now what I need to do is these fraction boxes are different sizes. One's a third and one's an eighth. So I've got to find my least common multiple. And I'm going to do that right here, my LCM. And I've got thirds here and eighths here. I count by threes, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. I need more room. Then I've got 18, 21, and then 24. And here I have 8, then 16, then bingo, 24. Right there, 24 is our least common multiple, right? Now, what does that mean? That means for this box, I got to cut it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 parts, right? So I'm going to make that good and big so I can draw those 7 lines to make 8 parts. So let's go ahead and do that right here. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 lines gives me 8 parts. Fantastic. Now, let's look at this one. For this fraction, I got to break it into 1, 2, 3 parts. So I just need to go 1, 2 lines gives me 3 parts. And now these are both 24ths. Perfect. Now all I have to do is count these up, right? So I've got 1, 2, 3, and now I've got to count the parts, don't I? So let's go ahead and count these parts. And here we are. I did it while I paused it, so it would be a little quicker here. I've got 8, then 9, 10, 11, 12 to 16, then 19, 22, 25, 28, and here I have 31 out of, and remember, these are all cut into 24ths, so I got 31 24ths. So our full answer is really, here we go, are you ready? It is 3 and 31 24ths. Now, if you notice, this is what I call a top-heavy or improper fraction because my numerator is bigger than my denominator, and that means that I could move some of these and make this a full one over here. I'll do that in a minute. But first, let's go ahead and look at our algorithm, and we've got our algorithm right down here. And what I'm going to do is take this and multiply both of those by the giant 1. Whoa, this thing is trying to run away from me. You see that? But I got it. So here we go. Multiply both these by the giant 1. And here's another giant 1. And now for this top one, I'm going to multiply it by the giant 1 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, right? So let's come over here, and I'm going to put an 8 up here and another 8 there.
And for this one, I'm going to multiply it by the giant one of 1, 2, 3. So 3 over 3. That's going to give me a couple new mixed numbers. 1 times 1, well, that's pretty tough, right? That's 1. Then I've got 2 times 8, which is going to give me 16. And then I've got 3 times 8, which is 24, right? 24. And if you look here, that's represented right here with this 16 24ths, right? And now I'm going to have to take this and multiply 2 times 1, which is going to give me the 2 right there. And then I've got 5 times 3, which is going to give me 15. And right here, I've got 8 times 3, which is 24. And now I'm ready to add. This is kind of running in here. So look at that. I just moved it. Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our addition. Now remember, you only add or subtract the numerators, right? Because that tells us how many parts we got in blue. The denominator, you never add or subtract because that just tells us how many parts we cut the fraction box into. So let's go ahead and 6 plus 5 is going to give me 11. Drop my 1, carry a 1 right there. And then I've got 1 plus 1 plus 1 is going to give me 3. So I get 31. And then, as we said, we just drop the denominator, so that's 24. And here I have 1 plus 2 is going to give me 3. And bingo, lo and behold, if you notice, this is our algorithm, and it agrees with what we got for our illustration right here, right? And that is always beautiful, my friends. Hey, but let's go ahead and look at what I was talking about with this being a top-heavy fraction, okay? So let's come over here, and if you notice, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need to take 9 of these and put them over here. So I'm going to grab 9 of these, and let me just do this like this. I'm going to go, actually, I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to grab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I'm going to grab one more here, 9. And then I can take those 9 and I can put them right over here and plug them in here. And now what's really cool is, as you can see, this is another hole, right? So I've got 4 holes, right? That is lovely. And then I also have these 7 over here that make up my answer, right? So I've got 4 and 7 24ths, right? And this is the simplified form of this, okay? Now, let's go ahead and look at what happens with the algorithm, right? So when I take my algorithm, which is actually up here, and I think of the fractions, I can think of it in one of 3 ways. I can think of 31 24ths, or 31 out of 24, or in this case, 31 divided by 24. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 31 divided by 24. Now, 24 will go in there one time, which gives me 24. And then when I subtract, I got trouble coming. This turns into a 2. I'm going to do this, make this a little bit smaller. That turns into a 2. And then this will turn into 11. And now I've got 11 minus 4 is going to give me 7, right? And then 2 minus 2 zeroes out, so I don't have to do that. Now look, I've got 1, and then I'm going to take my remainder, and that becomes my numerator. And then my divisor over here becomes my denominator. So, as you see, I get 1 and 7 24ths, right? Because the 24 comes right over here. Now, what I've got to do here is I'm going to take this 1 and add it to the 3, which will give me 4. And then I take the 7 24ths and I just write 7 24ths. And this, as you see, agrees with my algorithm there. And more importantly, I'm sorry, that's not my algorithm, my illustration answer here. And more importantly, this illustration here. Hey, that is how you solve this problem. So if you made a mistake anywhere along the way, whoa, this is running away from me. No worries at all, my friends. Simply pause the video, fix your mistake. That is the fastest way to learn. And now, let's move on to our second problem of this video. And we're off and running. 3 3/4 plus 4 2/7. So first thing I want to do is create my fraction boxes, right? So I've got 1, 2, these are holes, right? 3, and these are all holes. Then I've got a fraction box, right? And that is going to be 3/4, right? So I'm going to draw 3 lines to make 4 parts, and then I'm going to color in 3 of those parts. So I get 3/4, right? Now I'm going to make my next one, which is 4 2/7. So the first thing I'll do is draw 4 boxes. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then now I got to make another fraction box that's blank, right? And this one, I get 2/7. So I'm going to enlarge this. 7 parts means I'm going to draw 6 lines. So let's go ahead and do that right now. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 lines. And now, as you see, I get 2 of those 7. So I'm going to color in 2 of these. So let's just go ahead and do that right now. And I'll just color in those 2 and move that slightly. And there we have it, right? Super. So now I've got a bit of a problem, right? Because I've got fraction boxes with different sized fractions. So I need to find my LCM, right? So I've got 4 and I've got 7s here. And I got 4, 8, 12, 16. I'm going to need a little more room. And then I get 20, then 24, and then 28, right? And then if I count by 7s, I get 7, 14, then I get 21, and then I get 28. And bam, right there is my least common multiple, right? So that means I'm going to take this fraction here and cut it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 parts going up and down. So let's do that right now. I need to make a lot more room. 7 parts means 6 lines. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 lines. And that looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 1, 2, 3, 4 gives me 28 parts altogether. Now, for this one, I need to cut it into 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. So 4 parts means 3 lines, which I don't even need to enlarge this for. 3 lines, and now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So 28 parts altogether. Now all I have to do is count these bad boys up, and I'm all done, right? So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 holes, and then I got to count these little boxes, right? And let's go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to enlarge this, and here we go, my friends. And I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and then I got to move down to this one, and I get 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and so these are 28ths, right? So I got 29 28ths. And so your answer actually is, here we go, ready? And it is 7 and 29 28ths. And now this is a little bit top heavy. We'll come back to that in a minute. But right now, let's just leave it as it is and do our algorithm, okay? So that means we're going to come back up here. And now I am going to multiply by the giant 1 and That is one beautiful one, isn't it? Superb. So now for this first fraction, I got to multiply it by this giant one over here, which means I'm multiplying by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's come back here, and I'm going to multiply by 7 over 7. And for this one here, I'm going to multiply by, wait for it, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 over 4. And let's do that right here. 4 over 4. And now I'm ready to rock and roll. So 3 times 1 will give me 3. And 3 times 7 will give me 21. And 4 times 7 gives me 28. And then I've got 4 times 1 will give me 4. 2 times 4 will give me 8. And 7 times 4 will give me 28 once again, right? And now I'm ready to add, and I get 1 plus 8 is going to give me 9. And right here I got 2 plus nothing, right, is going to give me 2, so I get 29. Now you never add or subtract. In this case we're adding the denominators, right, because that just tells us how many parts we cut that fraction box into, right? And so it's 28. And then 3 plus 4 is going to give me 7. And lo and behold, you can see that my algorithm right here agrees with my illustration right there, right? And that is always beautiful, my friends. Hey, I promised I would talk about this top-heavy fraction. So we're going to move some of these, and let's just go ahead and see how many we need to move. And I think I'm going to grab these from here and move them up here. So I need to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to leave that one there. So I'm going to grab these just by grabbing here and then here. And now all I have left is just that one left right there. But I got to move these up here, right? So here we go. I just plug those in right there. And now, as you see, I've got another one here. And this one makes, because I had 7 here, this one will now make a grand total of 8, right? But I've got this one left here, so I've got 8 and 1 28th now. So let's go ahead and rewrite that down here and make this normal size. 8 and 1 28th. And that is the simplified or reduced form of 7 and 29 28ths. Now, if I'm looking at the algorithm and I want to do this instead of with the illustration, but with the algorithm, I can simply look at this and go, okay, 29 28ths, that fraction can be said in 3 ways. 29 28ths, 29 out of 28, or 29 divided by 28. And that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to do 29 divided by 28. And 28 will go in there one time, which gives me 28. And then when I subtract, I need more room. I get 9 minus 8 is 1. 2 minus 2 is 0, so I don't have to worry about it. My remainder of 1 comes up here. It's my numerator. The 28, which is my divisor, becomes my denominator, right? And I get 1 and 1/28. Well, when I add the 1 here plus this 7, I get 8, right? And then I just grab this 1/28, and I get 1/28. And right here agrees with what we came up with right there, and also up there for our illustration. And bam, there you have it, my friends. Hey, once again, if you made a mistake anywhere along the way, no worries at all, my friend. Pause the video, fix your mistake. That is the fastest way to learn. And now, let's move on to problem number 3. Alrighty, and here we go. 2 4/5 plus 4 3/6. So the very first thing I want to do is go ahead and create my fraction boxes. And I got 2 holes, so I'm going to make 1 and a second one. That makes 2 holes. And then I've got to make a fraction box for 4/5. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right next to it here. And since there's 5 parts, I'm going to draw 4 lines. So I got 1, 2, 3, and 4 lines, and then I get 4 out of those 5, right? So I will color in 4 of them, and bam, there we have it. All right, so 2 and 4 fifths. Now I need to make 4 and 3 sixths. So I'm going to move this up a little bit and create 4 holes, right? So I've got 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and now I'm going to move these over a little bit so I have a little more room. And then I'm going to make my fraction box. And for this one, I need to make 6 parts, so that's 5 lines. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so I have a little more room. And here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 lines gives me 6 parts. Now I needed 3 of those 6, right? So I got 3 out of 6. So I'm going to color in 3 of those. And here we go. I got 1, 2, 3, straight across, and fill that bad boy in, right? Okay, there we have it. Super. So now I also have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3 out of 6, and that's exactly what I wanted. Now, as you notice, these 2 fraction boxes have different sizes, right? So I got to find my LCM, or my least common multiple, right? So I'm going to put 5 here and 6 right here. And then I got to simply count by 5s and 6s, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So I've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. Nice. And then I got 6, 12, 18, and then 24, and bam, 30. Right there we have it. And that is our least common multiple, right? And so let's move on. And that means a couple things for us, right? So for this box here, it means I'm going to break it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. So I'm going to go 6 lines, actually 5 lines to create 6 parts. And the lines are going to go up and down. So give myself a little more room here to draw. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 lines. Should give me 6 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is indeed 30 altogether. Perfect. And now let's go ahead and cut this box up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts. 5 parts will mean 4 lines. So let's go ahead and do that. And I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 lines. That should give me 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gives me another 30 parts here. And now, as you see, I have common denominators because both of these fractions are cut into 30 parts, right? Now I'm all done other than counting the bad boys up, right? So let's go ahead and do that. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes, and then I got to count all these little guys, right? So I'm going to enlarge it, and let's go ahead and count. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, excuse my sloppy writing, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Let's move on to the next one. And then this is 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Oh my goodness, how exciting! Actually, let's enlarge this a little bit. I should have done that a long time ago, huh? 35, 36, 37, 38, and 39 out of the original 30, right? Because these are all broken into 30 parts, which we have right right there, right? So I got 39 thirtieths plus these 6 wholes. So my answer is 6 and 39 thirtieths. Now, as you know, this 39 thirtieths is top heavy or an improper fraction. We'll take care of that a little later. But right now, let's go ahead and start with our algorithm. And what I'm going to do is, watch this, I'm going to move this up. Very tricky, I know, very tricky. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make a little more room now. And then I am going to multiply by the giant 1 for both of these, right? And I try to make these ones pretty, but they're really not very pretty at all. I'm so sorry. But that is the deal. All right, so now, for this first fraction, I got to multiply by the giant 1 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll plug a 6 in both here and here. And that's going to give me a new fraction. 2 times 1, right, is going to give me 2. That stays the same. Very tricky, I know. And then you've got 4 times 6, which is going to give me 24. And then down here you got 5 times 6, which will give me 30, right? I love it. All right, 4 times, whoops, I didn't do this part yet. So I've got to go down here. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So I'm going to multiply this by the giant 1 of 5 over 5. And then 4 times 1 will give me 4. And then 3 times 5 is going to give me 15. And 6 times 5 will give me 30. And lo and behold, this 24 thirtieths is represented right here. And then this 15 thirtieths is represented right here, right? That's very cool. I just thought I'd stop and show you that because it's cool. Okay, so here we go. Now, with adding and subtracting fractions, you only add the numerators because that tells you how many parts are in blue that are actually there. The denominators you don't add because that just tells us how many parts we cut this whole thing into, right? So let's go ahead and just drop the 30th. And then I do add this, so 4 plus 5 is going to give me 9 right here. And then 2 plus 1, well, that's tricky, but that's 3, right? And then 2 plus 4 is going to give me 6. And my algorithm agrees with my illustration down here. And that is always cool, my friends. Hey, let's go ahead and look at how we can change this into a whole number, right? So what I'm going to do, this is very tricky, very tricky. I'm a little bit like a surgeon, I know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got to grab 6 of these, right? So I'm going to grab 6 of these and move them up here, right? So let's go ahead and do that right now. And I'm going to enlarge this a little bit so I can grab them a little bit better. And here we go. I'm going to go take these. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there, right? And then I'm going to grab this last one here. So that's 6 of them that are now no longer there, right? So now I can take those 6 and I can plug them in right up here. And I'll do that by just coloring this in right there. And now, as you see, I've got a 7th hole, right? So I'm going to just make 7 here, nice and big and dark. And now I got 7 holes. And then I also have these right here, which are, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So I've got another 9. Whoops, let me do that a little smaller because that was way too big. I got 9 thirtieths, right? So when I add that to the 7, my total is 7 and 9 thirtieths. And that is my simplified or reduced form. Hey, let's go ahead and look at how that looks when we do it with the algorithm here, right? So I've got 6 and 39 thirtieths. And I can think of this in 3 ways. 39 thirtieths, 39 out of 30, or 39 divided by 30. So I'm going to do that over here. I'm going to use a different color. How about green, right? So I've got 39 divided by 30, right? And that's what this means here, 39 divided by 30. So 30 will go into 39 uno times. How do you like that Spanish, huh? And 1 times 30 gives me 30. Superb. And then 39 minus 30 will give me 9, right? And then my remainder becomes my numerator, and my divisor over here becomes my denominator, and that's 1 and 39/30ths that I have to add. I add this 1 to the 6, right? And that will give me 7. And then I got the 9/30ths, which is right here, and bam! That is how you do it as the algorithm form. Now, here's the deal. That is how you solve this problem. If you made a mistake anywhere along the way, you know the rule by now. Pause the video, fix your mistake. That, my friends, is the fastest way to learn. And now, let's move on to our fourth and final problem of this video. And here we go. Almost done, my friends. 5 1/6 plus 1 1/9. Well, so the first thing we must do is create our fraction boxes. I got 1, 2, I'm going to make that a little closer, then 3, then 4, and 5 holes, right? 5 whole ones. And then I've got 1 that is a fraction box, right? And this one is going to be broken into 6 parts, right? So I'm going to draw 5 lines. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so I have a little more room to work. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 lines. And I only get 1 of those. So I'm going to just fill in this one right here. And there we go. And now, let's see what I've got next. Next, I've got the 1 and 1/9, right? So I've got 1 here, and then I've got 1/9, which I'm going to just make a fraction box here, right? And I got 9 parts, which means 8 lines. And let's go ahead and do that right now. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 lines. That gives me 9 parts. I only get 1 out of those 9, so I'm going to fill this one in right here. And there you have it. Now I've got my 2 fractions. Now, all I really need to do is count these up, but I can't count these 2 bad boys because one's in 6 parts and one's in 9 parts, right? So the first thing I got to do is find my LCM, and I'm going to do that right here. I'm going to go LCM, and then I've got my 6 and I've got my 9, right? And if I count by 6s, I go 6, 12, and then 18, right? If I count by 9s, I go 9 and bam, 18. There you have it. 18 is your least common multiple, or LCM, right? So that means I'm going to cut this first box into 1, 2, 3 parts. So 3 parts means 2 lines. I'll go 1 and 2. And now I have 3 times 6, which is 18, right? And for this box, I got to just cut it into 1, 2 parts. So that means 1 line right down the center. And now I've got 1, 2 times 9 gives me 18 as well. So now these are all common parts, right? So that is lovely. Now all I have to do is count these bad boys up. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes. And then I got to count the parts, right? So let's start up here. And I got, over here, I got 1, 2, 3. And then I got to come over to this one. And I got 4 and 5, right? But those are out of 18, right? So those are 18ths now. So my answer is 6 and 5 18ths. And that, my friends, is lovely. All right, so that's how we solve it with our mathematical model or our illustration. Let's go ahead and look at how we would solve this with the algorithm, okay? So I'm going to move this up so I have a little bit more room. And the first thing I want to do is multiply both of these by the giant 1. And you know, by now, I am horrible at making these ones. They're not pretty. I'm sorry about that. But I must tell you the truth. I'm not good at it. Okay, so here we go. And now for this first one, I'm going to multiply by 1, 2, 3. So the giant 1 of 3 over 3, right? And for this second one, I'm going to multiply by 1, 2, so the giant 1 of 2 over 2. Let's make this a little bigger. And 2 over 2. And that, my friends, is going to give me a couple of new mixed numbers, right? 5 times 1 will give me 5. And then 1 times 3 will give me 3, right? And right here, 6 times 3 gives me 18. And then I've got to do this one down here. 1 times 1, well, that's tricky. That gives me 1. 1 times 2, oh my goodness, that's tricky too, huh? 2. And then 9 times 2 is 18, right? So I drop my 18. And then the simple rule with adding and subtracting fractions is, remember, you never add or subtract the denominators because that just tells us how many parts we cut these boxes into, right? But we do add the numerators because that tells us how many we actually got. We got 3 here and 2 here, right? So let's go ahead and do that. And I got 3 plus 2 is 5. And then I got 18ths, right? And then right here I got, right here I got 5 plus 1, and that's going to give me 6. And that is our answer, my friends. And as you see, our algorithm right here agrees with our illustration right there, and that is always lovely. Hey, if you made a mistake anywhere along the way, you know the rule by now. Pause that video, fix your mistake, and that is the fastest way to learn, my friend. Until next time, I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you soon.